Are we Hindus or Muslims or Christians or Jews or Jains? In other words, even if you are a believer of a particular religious tradition, you must first celebrate our common humanity. Our common humanity comes first. Celebrate our common humanity. Another conviction I have is in all the religions, if there are things said, written, practiced, which goes against the Universal Declaration of Human Rights of the United Nations or the Constitution of India, I think we should clearly reject these writings or sayings or practices that go against pluralism, that are gender insensitive, that are racist, that are casteist. I think we should be clear about this. I think many of the problems that religions face today and the conflicts and the fundamentalism and the communalism is that we do not read the values of our constitution, and we do not know very much about the Universal Declaration of Human Rights of the United Nations. I think these are two sacred documents, to my mind, as sacred as any religious text. The Universal Declaration of Human Rights and the Constitution of India. Buddhism talks, has basically two characteristics: wisdom and compassion. Wisdom is largely being self-aware, being mindful, and compassion or karuna is being kind and sensitive and generous to other human beings. Buddhism is also the only religion, and I underline the only religion, which does not talk of a creator God. There is no mention of God in Buddhism. So in some ways, Buddhism is a kind of a secular spirituality. Of course, spiritual is deeply present in Buddhism. Meditation, chanting, all this leads to a sense of well-being, calmness, compassion. So spirituality is an integral part of Buddhism, but God is not a part of Buddhism, the creator God. So to that extent, I think you can, perhaps Buddhism is the easiest religion you can integrate into the secular dimension. That Buddhism, you can also call it as a kind of secular spirituality. I want to talk a little bit about our species. We modern humans, we are known as Homo sapiens. And maybe some of you may not realize that we modern humans are only about 300,000 years old. Our species, the Homo sapiens, only about 300,000 years old. I mean, it's a long period, but the Big Bang happened 15 billion years ago. Our planet Earth started off about 5 billion years ago. And we human beings, modern human beings, are only 300,000 years old. And those of you who have studied evolution, you will also know that we all emerged out of Africa and then spread across the planet. So we are 300,000 years old. And our oldest religion, which is Hinduism, is only about 8,000 years old. So what is it? We lived without religions for practically 290,000 years old, the species Homo sapiens. And it's only in the last 8,000 years, Hinduism is older. Of course, there was tribal spirituality before Hinduism. The whole planet was tribal at one time, and tribal spiritualities existed all over the planet. All the other religions are much younger. Now, what does this say? It means, I don't want to be disrespectful. I believe deeply that we all have a spiritual dimension. But nevertheless, I think we should understand that it is us human beings who created our gods and goddesses and all our religions. They are all cultural products of particular societies, particular historical epochs. Now, this doesn't mean to say that the spiritual and the divine is not revealed in them, is not present in them. But the specific characteristics are all historically conditioned. And we have lived 290,000 years as Homo sapiens without our religions. Our religions, as I said, are extremely recent products. And all of them have been culturally conditioned. All of our religions are gender insensitive. Women have always been given an inferior place in religions. And I think we should be alert to this, alert to all the sacred texts, whichever religion it is, which discriminates against women and continues to do so even to this day. Religion, as I said, tends to divide people. There's the old saying, religions divide, spiritualities unite. And this is also true. And I think if you want to be a person of faith today, and I underline this, if you want to be a person of faith, you must keep one foot in our common humanity and one foot in your particular religion. Please note this, one foot in our common humanity and one foot in your particular religious tradition. And there should be no contradiction between our common humanity and our particular religious tradition. This, I think, in today's world, multicultural, multi-religious, multinational, multi-ethnic, our common humanity is very important. Buddhism states, the Buddha said the self doesn't exist. Of course, this sounds very paradoxical because you say, I exist. What the Buddha meant was that the self which we think exists is largely constructed. We are all constructions. You are born into a particular family, and the accident of your birth makes you a Hindu or a Muslim or a Christian. You are therefore conditioned by that. You go to a particular school. You may belong to a particular language group. You may belong to a particular social class. So all this goes to construct you. And you think you are that. To really discover the true self, you have to deconstruct yourself. Of course, the ego is also part of this construction, because this ego, can sometimes lead to combine with religious dogmatism or political dogmatism or class dogmatism. So we have to also deconstruct all this conditioning. Sometimes, I can say, I'm Siddhartha, I'm this, I'm that, etc. But am I really that? Have I really looked into what is this construction that has happened in my life? And that I am really actually beyond all this, above all this. That I am a member of this human community first, that I celebrate my common humanity first, And as the Buddha said, I must be, to be a authentic person, you must be mindful, you must be self-aware, and you must be compassionate. I will end my reflection with a little story which I often talk about. It's called the parable of the frogs. Now, there's a village with many wells, and all the wells have a color. Some wells have a green color, some wells have a saffron color, the walls of the well. Some wells have a blue color, white color, etc. And on a particular day, a very hot day, some of the frogs were resting on top of the wells. The blue well, the saffron well, the green well, the blue well, the white well. It was a very hot day, and the frogs were naturally a bit irritated. And the frogs on the saffron well looked at the frogs at the green well and said, "Our water is the best water. Our water is the purest water, and your water is not good." And the frogs on the green well shouted the same thing at the frogs at the saffron well. And the frogs on the white well shouted the same thing, that our water is the best water, your water is not good. We are we have the purest water, etc. And being a hot day, they kind of croaked themselves hoarse. And finally, some of them got tired. And they said, maybe we should go for a dip into our respective wells to cool ourselves. So some of the frogs jumped into their respective wells to cool themselves. And some decided to go a little deep because, as you go deeper, the water is cooler. And that was helpful on a hot day to feel cooler. And some even discovered that there were little crevices in the walls of the well deep down, and that you could swim through those crevices. Some of them entered these channels and canals and crevices and started swimming inside them. And after some time, when they emerged, surprisingly, some of the frogs in the saffron well emerged in the green well, and some of the frogs in the green well emerged in the saffron well, and some of the frogs in the blue well emerged in the white well, and so on. Because, as they went deeper, these crevices connected with all the wells. So what the story says is, the deeper you go into yourself, you discover your common humanity. It's only on the surface that you see the greens and the saffrons and the whites and the blues. These are all constructions. And the deeper you go into yourself, you touch the ground of your being, your common water, and there you find the unity of everything. There you find our common humanity. So friends, all of you, remember, 1 foot in your common humanity and 1 foot in your religious tradition or in the secular tradition. Thank you so much.